Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special live edition of Non Sequitur Nerds. Tonight, we're going to need you to stay a while and listen, because we're going to be talking voice actors tonight. Joining me, as always, is my buddy Ian. How's it going tonight?
Are they watching us?
I mean,
I
notice me, senpai?
I Ada.
I mean, we're the video's up on Twitch, so we're going. Let's do this. So,
All
anybody?
right, cool. Hi everybody. I hope you're doing well this evening. For those of you watching, for those of you that are listening at your own leisure, thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate you being here with us. So, as Tim alluded to, we are going to be talking voice actors, and voice acting, voice actors, crossing genres, whatever you wanna. We're not really going to be exclusive tonight.
Mhm.
Uh, in the news, a little bit of sad news. Very famous actor, voice actor, Ed Asner passed away this week. If you're looking at headlines, um, you may recognize Ed Asner as the voice of crotchety Mr. Fredricksen from Disney and Pixar's Up. He also voices Ed Wunsler in the Boondocks, which is kind
Yeah.
of where I got the idea of actors and voice actors crossing over into multiple genres. He did a lot of other voice acting talents.
I
Tim, do
was
you
kind of
remember?
surprised, like when I saw that he had passed away. Like I started looking up how much he had done, and I mean he's got quite the back catalog of work that he has done, like a lot more than I had realized.
Oh yeah, and he has an extremely recognizable voice
Oh
too.
yes,
Like
yes he does.
he's like Tony J, right? Like Tony J had that voice.
Oh God, yes.
For those of you that don't remember Tony J, probably for this generation, the best way to recognize his voice is usually he was a villain in a Saturday morning cartoon. He
He
also
really
did the voice.
was.
He also did the voice of Frollo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame,
Yep.
the main antagonist, the main villain there. But they just had that very deep, just evil
Menacing
voice. Kind of like
voice,
Tim
yeah.
Curry. Tim Curry.
Oh
Tim
God,
Curry's
Tim Curry's
always was
amazing.
always playing bad guys. Because
Or
he
sweet
has that
transvestites
malicious
from
voice.
transsexual Transylvania. So
Well, yes, that too. But yeah, so Ed Asner passed away. You may remember that old show Freakazoid. He played the cop.
oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, I can't remember. Can't remember his name, the cop's name, the
Yeah.
character at this point. But yeah, he was the cop.
Well,
That
he
cop.
the cop that was always the huntsman, right?
No, he was the one that would always show up and
Oh
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
hang out with, like, convince Freakazoid to hang out. He'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Freakazoid, you want to go like get a gelato or something?"
Would I?
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Oh man,
yeah.
it's like if you go back, like I didn't even look at his full list. I just kind of like browse through more recent stuff. But like I mean, yeah, like you're mentioning Freakazoid now. I bet if we went back, there'd be just a ton of stuff. They're like, oh yeah, he was in that.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like it's kind of amazing, really. Um, the range of these different performers, which again is kind of the impetus for some of the conversation tonight. You look at some of these performers out there, and they're just so varied and crazy and off the
Oh
wall.
yeah,
Look at Tom Kenny. Probably most famously voices SpongeBob
right.
SquarePants.
I mean,
But the
is there
dude
any
is
other SpongeBob, Ian?
well,
Ah,
maybe.
yeah, SpongeBob Round Pants.
I think they actually did an episode of
I
that.
mean, it's SpongeBob. I think they've done about everything at this point, and they're just doing it again. That show's been on forever. Or like
Yeah.
I know one of my sister's personal favorite voice actors, Matt Mercer. I mean,
Yes.
most people
Yes.
know him, Critical Role, but I mean, he's a very well established voice actor.
Yeah.
He and his wife and everybody on Critical Role.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's kind of amassed a community there. One of the other critical rollers, Laura Bailey, does the
She's in
voice of
everything.
does the voice of Lust in Full Metal
Yep.
Alchemist. Does the voice of Black Widow in a lot of stuff. She
I didn't
does the
realize she
voice
did
of
Widow.
yeah. She has been playing Widow for quite a while actually.
Huh, I didn't realize that.
Um, she does Jaina Proudmoore in
Hmm.
the World of
Yep, I
Warcraft
knew that one.
and Warcraft games. Her husband as well is also a famous voice actor. Uh, Crap, what's his name?
Travis
Um, yes,
Yep.
Travis
Willingham. Yep.
Willingham. Does famously again does the voice of Roy Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist, amongst
Yeah.
other things.
Yep.
Um, he does the voice of Thor in the Avengers.
Yeah. Well, like
Uh,
well, the dude is built like Thor. I mean, he's just a big dude, you know.
hmm
But
Yeah, does the voice of
funny
Thor.
is funny guy though. Funny guy. I really like
Yeah,
Travis.
yeah, he's really good as well. But so yeah, there's a whole range of voice actors and voice acting. Like it can be everybody from famous celebrities doing kind of one-time voice acting gigs. As an example, I'm gonna say Christian Bale voicing Howl in Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, heck, even I mean, if you're talking other Miyazaki films, I mean, you had frickin' Qui Gon,
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson. You know, he was in Ponyo as Ponyo's father. So I mean,
Yep.
so,
Patrick Stewart was in Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind.
yep.
Mark Hamill was in Lapida, Castle in the
I was
Sky.
gonna say, and I mean, we can't mention Mark Hamill without mentioning probably one of his most iconic voice acting roles.
Correct.
I mean,
Uh,
I'm gonna say Joker, but I was like, crap. Think of something that's obscure that he's done, and all I could think of was Joker.
Chucky. I mean, he voiced
Oh yeah, yeah,
Chucky,
yeah.
and
That's right.
yeah, he did it not only in Robot Chicken years ago when like the first
Not
season when
not
Robot Chicken came
Rugrats
out.
Chucky, the killer doll.
No, yeah, the Killer Doll. But yeah, that was Colleen Cavanaugh, I believe, was the voice of Chucky. She's since passed away.
Yeah.
That was several years ago. But yeah, so yeah, Mark Hamill obviously famously voices the Joker. Has taken over for Alan Oppenheimer as Skeletor
Mhm.
in the He-Man revitalization.
Which I need to watch that still.
I do too, because it's a very derisive
I've
subject. Like
I've I've
people
noticed
either
that.
loved it or
Yeah.
they hated it. Um, but I love the animation style. I love Mark Hamill. I love Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
So it's like three things that are already keeping me very interested.
Exactly. Yep.
So, but if we kind of turn back the Wayback Machine, uh, um, probably one of the most famous voice actors of all time is Mel Blanc,
Yeah.
famous for voicing the Looney Tunes,
I
not
was
just
gonna,
not
yeah.
just a Looney Tune,
The Looney
not just
Tunes.
the few Looney Tunes, the Looney Tunes.
Mhm.
Other than I think a female voice in the Looney Tunes cast, he was
The Looney
every
Tunes.
Looney Tune. He was reported to have being able to do 1,000 different voices.
Oh, I'd believe it. I mean, that like super talented.
Yeah. Also did the voice of Mr. Spacely in the Jetsons.
I
Um,
didn't know that.
yep. Yep. Did the voice. If you go back, it's interesting. If you go back and rewatch the Jetsons movie that came out in the 80s,
Oh man, yeah, I
um,
remember that.
if you'll notice some of Mel Blanc's lines, like the spoken dialogue, his voice changes a little bit.
Mhm.
It was because he basically was on his deathbed or
Oh,
died during the middle, like while they were recording. Not
yeah.
like as in he was in the
Well,
studio, but
yeah,
like
yeah.
so they had to get an impersonator to basically come in and fill in some of his
Oh.
lines. The same thing can actually be said with George Jetson's voice actor. I don't remember his name,
Hmm.
but he was actually struggling with dementia, and so he
Oh.
couldn't finish some of the lines, and so they had to have somebody else come in.
Oh, I
So
was not aware of that. That's a fun little bit of trivia.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
well, I mean,
probably
not
gonna be a
not
trivia
not not
night.
fun bit of trivia. I mean, but it's
It,
interesting
yeah,
trivia.
interesting trivia. So, and then you have the Scooby Doo cast. Um, Frank Welker as the voice of Fred Jones and Scooby Doo.
Yep.
Literally every version that wasn't live acted.
Hmm.
I think we've mentioned this on the show before, but
Yep.
he is Fred
Yeah.
Jones.
Well, I
He
mean,
is.
then Casey Kasem did Shaggy for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, and Casey Kasem has one of those voices like you hear him and you know who that is. Well, I mean, at least people of like our generation and older do. I mean, kids these days.
Right. Yeah. They were. There weren't as many voice actors, obviously, back in the day because it wasn't really a I want to say a well-respected profession or a well-paid
Well,
profession.
yeah, I mean, if you go back, like 30 years, like, well, what do you do for a living? Oh, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own business. What about you? Oh, I'm a CEO of a corporation. What about you? I do voices for cartoons. People wouldn't have taken that as seriously. And nowadays, I mean, you get so many people that they would love to get into voice acting as their full time job. I mean, myself included. If I was talking to somebody at work the other day, and I said, they asked me, is this what you thought you'd be doing at this point in your life? I said, well,
Did you say
no,
it in Dutch?
no. This is actually one of the other few English guys there. Um,
Mm.
but I said, honestly, no. But I mean, it's convenient. The hours work great with my kid's school schedule. I get my weekends off. He's like, well, what would you rather be doing? And I told him, I said, honestly, I would love to do voice acting. I said, if some company called me up right now and they offered me a contract, even if I was making exactly what I am right now, if they offered me a contract to start working immediately, I'd go up to my boss and say, hey, bye. I'd walk out on the spot. That's the job.
Deuces.
Yeah, bye. Auf
Yeah,
Wiedersehen.
yeah. Voice acting, like I said, voice acting wasn't really. It was more of a niche thing. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't really well respected in its time, like in its when it first came out. And much
infancy.
can be said really about like comic books.
Hmm.
You know, Stan Lee in interviews would famously say, like they were like the black sheep. Like nobody wanted to associate with comic books back when they came out. I mean,
Right.
they were grossly underpaid. They had small offices. Like they
Yeah.
didn't like you didn't want to be associated with him, and it took people like Stan Lee and those types that really championed for comic books to really kind of bring them to the forefront. And I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
with
Yeah.
voice acting, it's been a slow transition over time, and I think some of that has been helped by the likes of Disney with their animated their animated movies. It kind of started off with not really well known people, like
Right.
side gig type
Well, I
folks
mean,
you
like
don't
the people
recognize.
the people that they would really promote would be featuring the singing voice of insert famous singer here. They would
Right.
tout, well,
Glenn Close is the voice of the poodle in
right, yeah. I mean,
Oliver and Company.
they would advertise those big names that people already knew, but then you'd have like genuinely talented people who they'll be side character B in like five different Disney films, and nobody go, oh hey, I loved your rendition of this character. It's not the main
Right.
character. It's not the big Hollywood draw name. But now, I mean, they're starting, especially Disney today. They're still kind of doing that, but they're branching out more into the more pop culture icons. Like, did anybody think that they would be watching a movie featuring The Rock as a singing demigod? Because I enjoyed it, but it's not anything I ever thought I would see.
Yeah,
His
no, I
rendition
mean
of,
that
of
he did
Maui
he
was
was he
amazing.
yeah, he did
Oh
fantastic in
yes.
that role. Yeah, and even some of their other, obviously Disney's is going for towards the star power thing. They're
Oh,
trying to,
absolutely.
again attract viewers,
Mm.
with Idina Menzel and uh, Kristen Bell in Frozen. Those are
Right.
two really big name people at the time. Um, they've got the oh, I mean, look at the remakes that they did of like Aladdin
Yeah.
and The Jungle Book. Like they had Bill Murray as the voice of Baloo. They had Scarlett Johansson as the voice of Kaa. Um,
I mean, they had Will
so
Smith as the genie. I mean, that's
yeah,
which, like, okay, unpopular opinion. I liked his performance as genie. It wasn't
I
Robin
felt like
Williams, but for the different take they put on it, I liked what he did with it.
I admittedly have not seen the entirety of that movie.
Hmm.
So I can't give a fair rendition start to finish, but I have seen, YouTube clips and whatnot of his
Yeah,
performances, and it held true to the spirit of who Genie was, but it wasn't trying to be Robin
yeah.
Williams.
They,
He
they
was doing his own. He was doing almost, I wouldn't say an homage, but he was being respectful to the original
yeah,
character,
yeah.
but still doing his own thing. Because I think Will Smith is self-aware enough to know that he will never be able to replace Robin Williams, nor do I think anybody wants to.
Oh, I mean,
Um,
that's somebody. He's irreplaceable.
yeah, and Robin has done Genie. He famously did the voice of Batty in Fern Gully, the Don Bluth movie,
Yeah.
where you can hear Robin Williams rap in that.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, if you look at like Disney's pantheon, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Jim Cummings.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Like Jim Cummings, if there is a Disney property, Jim Cummings has probably been in it. He is
Yeah.
currently the voice of Winnie the Pooh,
Hmm.
Tigger.
Yep.
Um, did the voice. Actually, fun trivia for you. Um, he played the voice of Louie in Tailspin, the
Hmm.
Tailspin cartoon show.
Yeah.
Famously doing a rendition of Louis Prima. His his impression was so spot on that Louis Prima's estate sued Disney and said you can't use this character anymore because you're taking his voice.
Oh, wow.
And so if you notice towards the later seasons of Tailspin, the character of Louis is not on there very much. He's only kind of a bit character. Not he's featured less
Huh.
because Jim Cummings did such a spot on rendition of Louis Prima's voice that
That's
their
that
estate
says
sued.
something to his talent right there. That he was so good at mimicking another guy's voice that he got sued for mimicking another guy's voice.
Yeah,
That's
and there's other
that's kind of a
there's
point of
other
pride, honestly, for him. I imagine.
yeah, and he has fantastic range as well because if you imagine the voice of Winnie the Pooh, and then he also did the voice of Darkwing Duck.
Hmm.
Did the voice does the voice of Ray the Firefly in The Princess and the Frog.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
forgot that was him.
Yeah, the crazy Cajun Firefly.
Yeah.
Has a whole pantheon of voices, and if I remember correctly, Jim Cummings himself is he's from Louisiana, so
I think
um,
so.
yeah. So I mean, he's famously part a core component of the Disney brand at this current stage. Much like Wayne Allwine was as the voice of
Mhm.
Mickey for all
Right.
those years.
Well,
Um,
for a while, wasn't he Mickey and Minnie for a while?
no, it was
Or no,
his
it's his
wife.
wife. His wife. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Wayne Allwine and his wife were Mickey and Minnie for the longest time,
Which is
and
really,
so
really
obviously they
sweet, you
passed.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
but
So
yeah, it's interesting, kind of like we were talking about a little bit ago, just how differently people perceive voice actors now versus how they did, 20, 30 years ago. Because again, like we said, back then it was very much it wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't as lucrative. I don't know what they used to. I imagine Disney paid well enough that people kept coming back for it. Since we had so many repeat actors back in the day. But like now, I mean, you've got people that's all they do. That is their main source of income, and they make quite a bit off of it. I mean, they make some good
they
money.
they do, but I think part of that though is from my understanding actually from a recent interview I saw with one of our age's most famous voice actor Steve Bloom.
Who is
He
amazing and
said
one of my favorites.
yes, he said that really the pay grade for voice actors hasn't changed
Hmm.
all that much in 20 years. So you'll see a lot of voice actors picking up a lot of different credits.
Okay.
Um, so if you look at again, you're talking about like Tom Kenny, Rob Paulson, uh, Billy West. I mean, these guys are in everything
Chris Sabat.
because they're picking up paychecks from all of these
That makes sense
different
then. Yeah.
things. Um,
So one
so
job's not lucrative, but when you're taking 20 jobs, it adds up.
yeah, yeah, and some of it could be even bit lines like just a couple of lines in a TV commercial, like
Right.
the Taco Bell anime cheese
Dude,
nacho
okay.
fries
I
commercial
want
that
I
has
want that
like
to be a
all
whole
the
series. I want that to be.
I
I
do
would watch that.
too.
I would watch that. Taco Bell,
I
if you're
do too.
listening,
Yes.
Taco Bell, make that a series. I would watch, giant kaiju monsters fighting mechs over cheese fries. I would watch that.
Yeah, no joke.
I mean, I like Abenobashi, so this is right up my alley.
We liked Abanabashi.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I still maintain at its core that anime is a love story,
No, you're right.
and I love it.
You're not wrong. It's a good good story.
It
But
is.
um, yeah, so I mean, there's other actors out there that you don't realize are kind of into the voice acting gig. Like look at Seth Green.
Yeah.
Robot Chicken. He does the voice of Chris on Family Guy and has done
Mhm.
it since the very first season.
Yep.
He does a bunch of different voice acting gigs. You don't realize it.
Right.
Breckin Meyer is another one. He's on Robot Chicken all the time, but he does other stuff. Peter Cullen,
Okay.
famously the
Yeah.
voice of Optimus Prime.
Also in the
He's
live
also
actions, the live action
he's
films,
also the voice of Eeyore in the Winnie the Pooh
which
cartoons.
which cracks me up. One shall stand, one shall fall, one shall why even bother.
Exactly.
Well, and I mean, if we're talking, we had talked at the top of the show about voice actors who had passed away during their roles. It wasn't during his role, but Orson Welles, his last role was as Unicron in the first Transformers animated movie. That was his final role, was giant space god.
Yep.
And you know
And
what? Like I can't, in my opinion, no one else has captured Unicron as well as Orson Rolls. Wow, Orson Welles
I mean, he
captured
was a
that
pretty
role.
rotund
I
guy,
mean,
but
he was, but nobody captured that role as well as Orson Welles.
yeah, I would agree to that. There's he's done quite a lot out there.
Yeah.
And was just such a tour de force.
Oh
Just
God, yes.
he had that voice, and um, Maurice LaMarche is his rendition of the Brain in Pinky and the Brain. He is imitating Orson Welles
Yep.
for that character.
Like, and
So,
I will say he does a pretty good Orson Welles impersonation.
hmm
Pretty good one.
yep, pretty good one. So we've kind of talked about like mainstream, movies and cartoons and things like that. And obviously, if you've listened to this podcast before, you can tell that you know that we're anime fans. Tim, what's that shirt you're repping right now?
Oh, you mean my official Gundam T-shirt?
Yeah.
There's
So
more. You can't see it because of the can. Well, yeah, I guess you can.
yeah. So yeah, we're obviously anime fans,
Yep.
and anime is really took off in the late 90s and
Mm-hmm.
early 2000s here in the United States. And it was probably really championed by shows like Dragon Ball Z, Gundam,
Yep.
Sailor Moon. Those were at Robotech.
Oh man, Robotech. I haven't thought about that one in the day.
Yeah. Actually, interesting thing for you. I believe Funimation has the entirety of Robotech on there now.
Ooh.
They have also recently acquired and have started broadcasting several Gundam series. I think even Gundam Unicorn.
See, like
Um,
Unicorn, I just started. I'm not far enough into it yet to have an opinion. I
mhm,
will say that the on Netflix, the which I have Netflix again, the Gundam Hathaway film. I ended up switching to something else maybe half an hour into it, just because it was so there was so much build up and so much exposition at the beginning that out of that half an hour I spent maybe 5 minutes actually watching it. The rest of the time I was like zoned out on my phone just because it wasn't engaging to me. So I know it's supposed to be I think a trilogy. I really hope the next two films give me a reason to go and finish the first one because I was not sold on it at all.
mm,
But no, yeah, well, we are definitely fans of anime. I mean, and we have seen um, quite a few very well-known voice actors in the anime community come out. I mean, just talking Dragon Ball Z. I mean, you've got Chris Sabat, you've got Sean Schemmel, and there's 2/3 of the cast. Um, I'm only
he's
joking a
not
little.
wrong.
I'm only joking a
He's not
little.
wrong. Chris Ayers, voice of Frieza. Original voice of Frieza.
Yep.
He's last I had heard he was still dealing with throat cancer, I believe.
Yeah,
So
throat
he's
cancer.
kind of moved into more of a producer role while he tries to rest his try to recover from that. But
I will say the
uh,
new voice actor for Frieza, I'm not disappointed with.
yeah,
You can definitely tell it's somebody different, but not in a bad way.
right. And the original Dragon Ball Z had those characters. Monica Rial, the voice of Bulma,
Yep.
um, probably one of the other than the Japanese voice actresses for Goku and Bulma, who Bulma's voice actress passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's a fun fact for you guys. Uh, Goku's voice actress in Japan, actress in Japan, is a woman and
Yep.
has been doing it the entire duration of that character, and she's
Yes.
like 60 at this point.
Yeah,
So
she has played
when you
Goku from the first episode of Dragon Ball all the way to the final episode of Dragon Ball Super. What and she also did Kid Gohan and Goten as well, if I remember right.
possibly,
I think so. I know for sure she's done Goku. Um, and a lot of it has to do with the way they portray strength in Japan. Like when you think strength here in the States, you think John Cena, for lack of a better description. You think big muscle. Rah. In Japan, a lot of it is strength comes from within. So I mean, apart from the fact that they liked her voice and they liked her rendition of it, that's why they have Goku with more of a feminine voice, because it's not, you don't necessarily have to be the biggest and baddest guy, even though it's Goku. So I mean, yeah, it's just a fun little cultural difference, and like nobody in Japan has really complained about Goku having a female voice actor. It's what they're used to. It's that's the voice they know. It'd be like if
no, I
Sean,
think,
yeah, it's like if Sean Schemmel stepped down in the States and they made new Dragon Ball with somebody different, people would notice.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they'll just have Chris Sabat do his voice too.
probably. It's the Chris Sabat show. And if you don't know who Chris Sabat voices, he's
Everyone.
Vegeta, Piccolo, several other characters in that show. Branching outside of that, he's famously All Might from the
Mhm.
My Hero Academia
Yep.
Academia
One of
series.
my favorite characters he's ever done, though, has easily got to be Armstrong from Full Metal.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
it's he Armstrong is kind of my hero. So.
yes. Does the voice? Yeah, does the voice of Armstrong. Um, kind of going back to the shows in our day. We'd mentioned it before. Cowboy Bebop. Uh, you know, uh, we mentioned Steve Bloom before. Famously did um, the voice of Spike Spiegel,
Yep.
and now he's probably one of if not the most prolific voice actor in the
Yeah,
industry.
he is.
Actually, I've mentioned this before on the show. Has a Guinness World Record for the most appearances in video games. Like literally
I believe it.
a framed Guinness record that he keeps in his home because of he has been in over 500 video
Oh my
games.
gosh, yeah. I mean, that number sounds really high, but at the same time, like I'd believe it. I mean, the guy has done a lot of voice work, a lot.
And he has a lot of range too. Like,
Oh God, yes.
You hear Spike Spiegel, you hear Grunt from the Mass Effect series.
Mhm.
Both very rough and tumble type characters. Um, does the voice of Leon in Gurren Lagann, a
Yep.
very effeminate gay character.
Yes, yes.
And apparently, in the same interview that I saw with him, he had a lot of fun messing with the director because the direct he would really like hype up the femininity of this
Yeah.
character and just say really weird off the wall stuff to make the director uncomfortable. Um,
That's
which
awesome.
yeah. Um, so yeah, you have uh, character, and then it also played the crazy doctor in Trigun that had the giant kid, the giant children.
Yeah, or it was his brother, right?
No, it was his son. Like he played the crazy doctor that looked kind of like a cross between Doctor Wily
Oh
and
yeah,
Doc Brown.
I'm thinking of the crazy doctor from One Punch Man that had the giant brother. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah,
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 yeah. I know who you're talking about.
yeah. Played that character, and Trigun's another one. Trigun's one of my all time favorites. Johnny Young Bosch, playing
Oh, the
as
Power
Bash the
Ranger.
Stampede. Yes, actually, uh, again, we said it was going to be a night of facts. Here's another one for you. Johnny Young Bosch did play the Black Ranger, the in the Ninja series.
Yep.
Was the frog was his animal.
Yep.
So um, yeah, but animes has a very very they're more of a niche following, but I think they're becoming more mainstream, obviously, because you're starting to get. I mean, you're getting tons of anime series in the states now, and that's just like subtitled ones, subbed
Right.
ones. Funimation is obviously the main dub studio in the U.S.,
Well, I
followed
mean,
by.
Netflix is really starting to catch up though as far as their variety.
Yeah, no, they're branching out. They're getting licensing. They're partnering and doing some really cool stuff. And I'm not saying anything against Netflix,
Yeah.
but they've still got some catching up to do as far as
Yeah.
like really getting into the the anime business. I mean, they picked up Seven Deadly Sins, which was
That's right.
I
Yeah, they
thought
did.
actually it was a relatively enjoyable series. I wouldn't say it was the best, but it was enjoyable.
Right. Now, if we're talking about Netflix and anime, have you gotten a chance to watch Netflix's version of Evangelion?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No,
I
I haven't because I heard things about the voice acting and the
it
edits that they did, and I just.
having watched the original dub of Ava, which I mean you own,
Mhm.
they I'm torn because like on one hand I'm glad that people that never got to watch the dub, which due to licensing rights and this that and the other, is nigh impossible to find. So I'm glad that people that like dubs get to watch it. But having watched the original dub, I'm torn because there were a lot of edits made. They did tweak. I don't want. They didn't really change the story, but they tweaked the way it flowed, for lack of a better description. So I mean,
Yeah, that's
it's
fair.
when if you rewind time a couple years ago and you talk Netflix and anime, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is their live action adaptations of anime,
I mean, it's
which
very much a meme.
yeah, I mean it still is to this day. Like I watched the live action Death Note when it came out because I had just finished the anime. And I'm like, oh, this would be really cool to watch a live action version of it. Well, 10 minutes in, my buddy and I that were watching it, and he had never even seen Death Note to begin with. He saw how bad it was, and he wasn't even familiar with the source material. So 5-10 minutes in, we turned it into a drinking game. Every time we thought something was bad, we would drink. twenty
How are
minutes
you
in,
not dead?
well, exactly 20 minutes into it, we were sloshed. Um, but it is nice to see Netflix kind of course correct, and they're starting to get a lot more actual animated anime. I mean, they are still getting the Bebop live action, which I'm apprehensive on. The first couple like promo pictures they've put out, I like the fact they're visually anyway sticking pretty close to the original aesthetic and design of it. They've got some good names attached to it, but I'm still apprehensive about it. But we're
I
not
think
here
the
to we're not here to
greatest.
trash talk Netflix though. we're still
Yeah,
we're
I
still
think
looking for that
the
sponsorship.
correct Netflix. We love you. Um, we will shill for you.
Death Note live action was the greatest thing ever. Did the check clear?
Keep going. Keep smiling. Keep smiling. All right, cool.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of different studios out there, and one of the biggest things in the news, at least anime news industry lately, is that uh, Funimation has completed their acquisition of Crunchyroll, which was
Yes.
the biggest uh, anime distributor licensor in the U.S. Um, actually has more subscriptions than Crunchy or than Funimation, but Funimation's obviously backed by Sony,
Yeah.
and Sony's really making a push for the anime stuff,
Yeah,
which
they
is
are.
interesting because they're a Japanese company. Um,
I mean, makes
but
sense.
what I'm hopeful for is that, and I like subs. Like I don't mind subtitle anime. Like it's nice to it if I want to watch something that I find really interesting, then yeah, okay, I'll watch the sub if it doesn't have a dub version. Watching the dub version, I like not having to read, like, because I feel
Yeah.
like my attention is divided.
You know, I
So
think we talked about this on an earlier episode. I mean, you and I pretty much have the same mindset on it. If it's something I'm going to sit down and that's all I'm doing, I'll watch the sub, no problem. I'm ADD and can't freaking hold still. For those of you watching the video, can tell. So 90% of the time, I watch the dub because I'm doing 5 other things to 20% completion each, while listening to that in the background and occasionally like looking up to like see the animation, like if it's an interesting scene or there's a battle going on, or there's just something neat on screen, I'll look at it. So typically for me it's more more dub than sub, just because I can't be bothered to focus on anything for more than 20 minutes. I mean, I'm surprised I can get through this entire podcast.
yeah,
Yay,
yeah.
ADD brain.
I mean, he's not wrong.
It's But I mean, if we're going to go back to anime, I mean, I know you had mentioned one of, well, a couple of your favorite voice actors. For me, I still think one of my most favorite would have to be Crispin Freeman.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
just like my first like major experience to him in a leading role was the original Hellsing anime, and like just his voice just like really drew me into that character. I had mentioned many episodes ago that I had purchased the Hellsing manga in the like deluxe red velvet bound collector's edition, and like even when I'm reading that, I hear Crispin Freeman's voice as I'm reading Alucard's lines. That's how much his rendition of Alucard had an impression on me. That when I'm reading, I still hear him in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, really, all of the voice actors in Helsing had a very profound impression on all of us.
Yeah,
So much so that when they redid the series, they brought them all back.
yeah, which
Um,
was great.
yeah,
Because I mean, I'll
and
be on Ultimate. Hellsing Ultimate was a much better series.
well,
Um,
it was very true to the original source material.
well,
It was
because this time around, the original creator's like, all right, I'm gonna be sitting in the room with you guys this time.
right. Yeah, so they brought it back. Genion, I believe, was the studio that was dubbing it in the US.
Yes, yes.
And then they went bankrupt,
So like the
and
series
those
just didn't get dubbed for the longest time. The last 3-4 episodes, I think. I mean, it's pretty much like the ending of it was what everybody was waiting for. Never got
right,
dubbed because the company that owned the rights went under, or they went
correct.
under or got
But
bought out or something. I don't remember
no,
which.
they went under.
Did
They
they?
went
Okay.
under. However, Funimation stepped in and purchased the rights from Genion, and then picked it back up and
Yes.
finished the dub, which you can catch the dub version
Mhm.
on Funimation.
Yep.
It's actually the very first item that is in my queue is Hellsing Ultimate.
Yep.
Um, and I own the DVDs for the original Hellsing series too,
As do I. Yep.
as well as the DVDs for Hellsing Ultimate.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I have those
yeah,
on Blu-ray.
there you go. But yeah, so there. I mean, that one had a very profound impact. Christian Freeman had a very profound impact
Oh
on
yeah.
Tim and I, obviously, for some of his renditions. And there's a lot of these characters that we've talked about. Like Chris Sabat. Again, he's had a very profound impact on us. Characters like Carrie Walgren and Colleen Clinkenbeard have both done some pretty, big names, big credits out there. As the much maligned Vic Mignogna, the voice of Ed Elric.
Yeah.
Um,
Um. Yeah. That's a whole
not
thing.
a very nice guy,
Yeah. Let's just
but
call
had
it
a
how it
very
is.
unique voice in the industry, so you could always tell when it was him.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna go into that. We're not
Yeah.
gonna
That's.
dwell on Yeah, we're not gonna dwell on that.
Yeah.
One and we there's a lot of up and comers as well that that are in the industry these days. I say up and comers like J. Michael Tatum. He's been in the industry for a long time. He was just, I think, not as well known. Um, but he's been in the industry for a long time. Currently, famously doing Tenya Ida in My Hero Academia, the Ingenian,
Yep.
his superhero name.
Yep.
Um, a lot of those characters really in My Hero are kind of up and coming.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
it's it's nice to see what while I do. I mean, obviously, we're both admittedly fans of a lot of the veterans of voice acting, particularly in anime. It is nice to see, when new faces come into the scene and have such good performances that you're like, you know what, I can see this person going somewhere. I can,
yeah,
you can see that talent, or
yeah.
well,
I mean,
hear that talent.
look at the voice of Deku, Justin Briner.
Mhm.
Again, very unique voice
Yeah,
in
very
the
much so.
industry. Um, the voice of Bakugo, and his name escapes me right now. Chapin, I think, or something like that. Sorry
Um,
if I'm butchering it, but Cliffy, yeah, Cliffy Chapin, I think
is
or
is that?
something along those lines. Yeah,
Yeah,
Cliff
it's
Chapin or something
I'm
like that.
drawing a blank too, unfortunately.
Very unique voice, and I heard him in something else the other day, and
Yeah.
he wasn't screaming, and it was weird.
Well, I mean, it's
Um,
well, it's funny. Like whenever like you get I don't want to say typecast, but like I'll use Chris Sabat as an example. Like it was weird. Like the first time I heard him as Armstrong. Before that, my biggest exposure to him was Dragon Ball. So it was weird hearing him go from loud, screamy, grunting characters to a very eloquent, gentlemanly voice. But it was still Chris Sabat. And now he's back doing All Might, doing the punchy, screamy guy again. So I mean, he's got a type, which isn't bad. I mean, he's got a voice that fits strong characters. But
yeah.
even within that, I mean, he's gone from like Piccolo and Vegeta, who, admittedly, while both strong characters, have different guiding compasses, to
Oh, you
Armstrong.
mean the actual father figures of Dragon Ball?
I mean, yeah, let's call it what it is. To someone like again Armstrong, who again is a strong character, but is much more eloquent and refined and proud in a different way than Vegeta was proud. Back to All Might, who is, I mean, a Captain America analog, a Superman analog, whatever you want to call it, who's very much a Boy Scout, but is someone who very openly to his close friends shows that doubt in himself and in things that are happening. So I mean, even though he's got a very similar voice sets for all those characters, they're all so varied within that one actor. So I mean, it goes to show that a good voice actor isn't somebody who can just make a voice. Anybody can make a voice. It's being able to put genuine emotion behind those voices, and I think that to me is what makes a good voice actor. It's the same as a live action actor. You can put anybody behind a camera. Doesn't mean they're going to be good. Anybody can read lines, but it's putting that emotion and that realism behind those lines and connecting with the audience is what really, to me, makes the most impact.
Yeah. I was pondering while you were talking because I realized that Chris Sabat,
Mhm.
strong, manly, fatherly figure type. Vegeta, Piccolo, Armstrong, All Might, all strong father figures.
Right? Yeah.
Huh,
I mean, he's got a type, like I said. But again,
yeah, it works.
they're all very similar characters on their core. But when you delve into them, he puts such depth and individuality into each one that I guarantee, if you put Chris Sabat down with a fan script of Vegeta and Piccolo meeting Armstrong and All Might, he would be able to read through that and make each one of them in scenes where they're all talking together, make each one of them feel unique and like themselves. That is talent right there.
Yep. There's one of my favorites, kind of up and coming actors, and not just because he and I share a name, is Ian Sinclair.
Yep, which
Um,
you've mentioned him before. Yep.
yeah, Ian Sinclair. If we want to stick in the vein of Dragon Ball, does the voice of Whis
Hmm.
in the newer series,
Yep.
but also. If you've seen Dr. Stone, does the voice of Tsukasa,
Okay.
uh, Shishio Tsukasa. Does the voice of Victor Licht in Fire Force, which is a very over the top crazy character, like high pitched kind of crazy character.
See, Fire
Um,
Force is on my watch list. I haven't started yet.
I'd say
Well,
give it
as is
a
Doctor Stone, actually.
yeah. I mean, give them both a shot. I think when you were here, we were watching
Decadence.
how heavy yeah Decadence. He is in that for a little bit. He also did a couple. He's the narrator from How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, which is another kind of weird, crazy, over the top character.
Okay.
Um, so he has a very big range
Yeah.
of
Wait,
motion of characters.
you mentioned
Uh,
that title. How heavy are the dumbbells you lift? Have you noticed a trend in anime lately where like used to be the names were like something simple, Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Akira, and now it's that time I got trapped in a dungeon, turned into a slime, got adopted by ogres, and became a wolf. And have you
yeah,
noticed that lately? That like a lot of it seems to be an isekai thing mainly, but like I've noticed a lot more animes are coming out with just like really super long titles.
yeah. There was one that came out last season that was on Crunchyroll. It was called Higehiro, and the
Okay.
subtitle was something along the lines of I got rejected, took in a high school runaway, and shaved, or something like that. Was the subtext. So it seemed like a
Is
really
well,
stupid
you
premise.
haven't shaved yet, so I'm not that worried.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it sounded like a really stupid premise from the title, but I watched it, and it was probably one of my favorites of last season. In all
Okay.
honesty, like just a very it's a very powerful and sweet story about a high school runaway and this 26, 28-year-old businessman, and kind of like their
Is okay.
journey of self-discovery.
Is that the anime that there was a guy in Japan I was reading who was recently arrested for taking in
Yes.
a high because like I haven't looked into the specifics of it. So before anybody goes crazy in the comments, I'm literally just it was just a cursory glance. He says that he took her in and was giving her like job training so that she could make something of herself. I don't know the specifics of the situation, but like okay, so it's pretty much that, but the anime.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he did it based upon the anime and manga,
All right.
or tried to get away with it, but yeah, I mean it's illegal
So when
there.
when are you gonna adopt a cat girl, Ian? I mean,
I don't have. I mean, they don't exist unless I missed
get
a
on that, man. I mean, I can already see it now. My Gaijin boyfriend or cat girl and her Gaijin boyfriend.
interesting.
I mean, it could work. There was
It could.
another one I saw. Oh goodness, it was on Crunchyroll or Netflix, one of the two, where like the title was something along the lines of like House Husband, and the whole
Oh,
premise of
it's a
it.
Netflix.
Okay, the one
It's
where
a
like
Netflix.
he's a former
Yeah,
yakuza boss and now he's trying to be like
yeah,
the
yeah,
perfect stay-at-home husband or something. Like
yeah.
I watched the trailer for it and I'm like, having played or seen played through all the yakuza games, I'm like, I can get behind this like 500%. So it's on
No,
my queue. I want to watch it.
you should. It's a very good very good show. Very good. It started as a manga. It's hilarious. They're done in more like vignette style, so it's like each episode is like 5 to 7 minutes
Okay,
long, and an episode. Well, they're 5 to 7 minute segments, and then an episode is like three of those segments.
okay. So it's
But
Robot Chicken style,
yeah, kind of, but it's more in just that weird acerbic style.
right? Okay. So yeah, I think I'd be all for it then. But I mean,
Yeah,
we've talked about traditional animation voice actors. We've talked about anime voice actors. We kind of touched on video game voice actors, which you will see that a lot of the names we've mentioned from anime kind of bleed over into this category. Which I mean,
yeah,
just again, just goes to show the versatility of some of these voice actors.
yeah. I mean, if you look at again Matt Mercer as an example, does the voice famously does the voice of Jesse McCree in Overwatch,
Whose name is getting
or
changed.
whatever they're changing his name
Yep.
to.
Which
Um,
I'm curious, like, because I mean, Overwatch, like you and I have had this conversation before. We may have even talked about it on the show. Overwatch is a fun game. It's not for me because like all the lore for it, you either have to watch like video vignettes and piece it together, or go on their website. I wanted the lore to be in there, but it is a very lore heavy game. I'm wondering, lore wise, I don't think they're just going to change his name and have it be that. I imagine they're probably going to build it into the lore somehow. I'm curious how they're going to do that. Like if that was just a name he took, or if it's like Zorro, where it's a name that's passed down, and he's going to start using his real name now, or whatever they do. It'd be interesting to see how they handle that.
yeah, my guess is they're probably going to. They're not going to retcon his name.
Yeah,
They're going to lore wise change it somehow,
yeah,
work it in there, or it was like it was an alias or something like
yeah.
that, and he was. Yeah, that's or maybe he finds out that that's not actually his real name.
Oh,
Like
that could be an interesting angle.
he's not who he thinks he is or something like that.
That would be
Like
interesting actually if they
brainwash
went, yeah, if they went
brainwashing
that
type stuff.
route.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of people like like we said, Laura Bailey, Travis Willingham, Matt Mercer. They bleed over into other genres and things like that. If you look at Bryce Poppenbrook, who famously does the voice of Kirito in the Sword Art Online, he does like half of the NPCs in Fantasy Star Online.
Yeah, he
In the original in
really
the original
does.
in the original PSO2, Fantasy Star Online 2, yeah. He's like half. You go into the shopping district and he walk up to some of the characters and he does like half of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and it was funny when they did the Sword Art collab. Kirito was
yeah.
in the shopping plaza there, voiced by him, so you could literally go over and talk to a shopkeep and go over and talk to him again as Kirito.
Yeah. Well, the same thing with Asuna's voice actress,
Mhm.
Cherami Leigh.
Yep.
She also does a lot of video games and does, anime and things like that. Plays, Asuna Yuki, Lucy Heartfilia from
Yep.
the Fairy Tale series. Um, you know, a lot of different characters. I think she is the voice actress of. Oh crap! What's her name? Sasuke's daughter in the Boruto series.
Truth, I haven't watched a
Sarada.
single episode of Boruto.
Dude, I haven't watched really any episodes of Naruto. The voice actress for Naruto annoyed me so much that I was like, nope. It was
See,
just it was
what and like
it.
me, you remember back in the day, like I loved Naruto when I was watching it subbed. When they finally like, hey, we're bringing it to the states and dubbing it, I got 3 episodes in and then went back to my sub DVDs just because nobody, no disrespect to any of the voice actors or actresses in that show. Ultimately, they have to go off of what the voice director says, and all that stuff. But maybe it was just because I was so used to the subbed actors and like in hearing how those characters sounded, but I could not get into the English voice cast of Naruto. I mean, again,
I
no
never
no
watched
disrespect to any of those
I never
performers,
watched the subs, but I couldn't deal with just Naruto's voice
right?
actress actually because it was a girl, it was a female. It was so misplaced for that character.
Yeah,
It was grating and irritating and just didn't fit that character at all.
yeah.
The other VAs I thought did decent jobs. I thought they cast Kakashi well. I can't
Okay, yeah,
remember
I will.
the VA's
Yeah,
name.
Kakashi they did cast pretty well. I'll give you that.
Yeah, Mike Guy, I thought they did well because they got that meathead type.
You're right.
Um, Even the same with Rock Lee, they got that kind of like doofy. Actually, it was the dude that voiced Davis from the second Digimon series.
Oh gosh, yeah. Wow, I didn't realize that.
Um, yeah, so yeah, but yeah, so that video games bleed over quite a lot into the industry. And I think they kind of have this like circle of not really circle, but a lot of them are in a guild or a union,
Yeah,
the voice actors union and those kind of stuff. So they kind of uh, stay to stay together. But uh, you know they they're just you kind of hire the same talent because that's the talent that's out there. I mean,
Right.
if you look at Patrick Seitz, did the voice of Luke Valentine in Hellsing.
Yep.
Did the voice of Arthas in World of
Oh
Warcraft.
yeah.
Currently does the voice of Endeavor in My Hero Academia.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does.
Yeah. So, um, here's actually a fun one for you as I'm
Uh
looking through some of these people in credits. So, um, for those, Tim and I are kind of fans of Studio Trigger. They just celebrated their 10-year anniversary, so
Woo!
congratulations, Studio Trigger. I have some friends that are diehard anti-Studio Trigger, hate everything they do, so I like to bring them up every so often. The Studio Trigger, not necessarily my friends, because you guys know who you are. Screw you. Um, Kyle Herbert or Habert is the voice of Kamina in the dub of
Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann.
Yep.
Also does the voice of Gohan in adult Gohan in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I can see it. I can hear it.
Yep. And then also does the voice of Sasuke Aizen in the Bleach series.
Oh yeah, Bleach is one that I haven't watched that one in years. Like
I've
I
seen the first 2 seasons, and then that was all that I saw. I think it was some of it was I just couldn't. I didn't have like access to it after a while, and I just ran out of time to be able to watch it.
right.
So yeah, but yeah. So voice actors, voice actresses, they kind of move all around the industry. It's this like interwoven spider web. Which, speaking of spider, check out last week's episode.
Nice tie in there, Ian.
I'm shilling for ourselves.
Hey, you know what?
Uh,
If nobody wants us to show for them, we'll show for ourselves.
exactly.
And we pay each
So
other in
when is your
friendship.
check? I want to renegotiate our contract.
Good night, everybody. Click.
And with that, non sequitur nerds was no more.
And they never
Uh,
spoke again.
so thank you for joining us for our final episode. We are the nerds signing off for the last time.
Sad. No, we're gonna
Not
keep
really.
we're gonna keep going because we have nothing else to do on Friday nights. I mean, we enjoy doing this.
We enjoy each other's company.
We really do.
And
I mean,
time.
it is nice for us to get together every week and just talk about random crap, forget people's names, remember them 3 hours after we finish recording, and never go back and change it. But no, it's
exactly.
it's voice acting has always been a field that has interested me. I even went so far as to, at one of the GameStop manager conferences back when I was with them years ago now, it was Funimation actually had a booth there, and I don't remember, I think it was one of their Sword Art games. It was Sword Art and Dragon Ball. Each had a new game coming out that year. And they actually had a booth there. And they had some of their higher-ups there to present the games. They had some of the voice actors there. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get into any of the autograph lines to actually meet some of the voice actors, mostly because I wanted to see the GameStop Managers Conference. For those of you that were not in the company or were never managers, back in the day anyway, it used to be like a private E3 for the GameStop managers. I mean, they would wine and dine us. They would, I mean, the whole 9 yards. It was effectively, hey, look at our stuff, please sell it. But I had stopped at the Funimation booth. Just kind of talk some stuff, and like the person that was there at the counter, I said, hey, out of curiosity, what would be the best way for somebody to get into voice acting? Is there a way that we can send audition tapes, anything like that? And they actually gave me some information, some people to contact. They were mainly just a booth person, but they had like general information. And I did get in touch with a few people, but at the time, what they were looking for people, they weren't really looking for anybody to do any remote recordings. They wanted people that could be like in their studio, there on call. And I'm like, oh, well, I can't really do that. So I couldn't really just uproot my entire life and move on a whim that I might become a voice actor. But it's always been a field that's interested me. So I mean, it is nice to be able to look at some of these people who like admittedly, to people like Ian and I and many of you out there, these voice actors are just as valid celebrities and actors as any as Robert Downey Jr. Or as any other mainstream Hollywood live actor. And it is nice to
Yeah.
see that whole field has become much more mainstream. That it used to be back in the day of animation, people would talk about what studio is producing it. It's a Disney film, it's a Don Bluth film, it's a Pixar film, it's a DreamWorks, whatever have you. And now it's, hey, look who's in the cast. My favorite voice actor A is doing this obscure character in this one scene, but they're in it. It's nice to see that it's a much more, I don't want to, because it was never an illegitimate field, but it's a much more mainstream field, and that is kind of nice to see that those people who aren't being face to face on a camera are getting that name recognition, that branding, if you will.
Yeah, and and it's been a slow transformation over the years
Yeah,
of who is kind of the recognized in the industry. For a long time, they had to make a best animated feature Oscar because people were potentially losing to cartoons
yeah,
like in the best picture category. And it's Hollywood. It was a good old boy. Still a good old boys club. They
yeah.
were like, well, we can't have that. So let's make their own category. There's been a call for years that mocap actors should be allowed or should be able to be nominated for
Oh,
best
absolutely,
actor or best supporting actor.
absolutely.
I mean, Andy Serkis's role is Gollum. You- Apparently, Alexa picked that up.
Apparently, she did. But no, yeah, Andy
Andy
Serkis,
Serkis.
he deserves awards for the mocap work he's done. Well, I mean, he's done mocap work himself. He's done mocap direction. He's done mocap. I mean, like, if there's something in the field of mocap, he has done it.
Yeah, I mean his portrayal of Caesar in the Planet of the Apes revival,
Yes.
um, and that's him not only doing the mocap, but he's actually acting that character.
Yeah.
Like he is voicing the character. His face is the character because they did was they mocapped his face and animated the chimpanzee on top of
Yeah.
it. So
Well, I mean, like his
they're
work as Gollum.
yeah,
You know,
Gollum
I
again,
mean,
also voice acting.
mm-hmm.
Voice acted, physically acted.
Yep.
Look at Doug Jones, The Shape of Water. That one Guillermo del Toro, not a Best Picture and a Best Director Oscar. Nothing for Doug,
Yeah.
and he's
I mean, Doug Jones. He has so many iconic monsters that, like, I mean, seriously, if any of you get a chance, go look up some of the roles he's done. If I mean, and like, you will recognize 95% of the creatures he has done the work on, and some of them were mocap, some of them were him in prosthetics. The guy is
right.
both of them are genuinely talented individuals. But
Yeah,
again, they're not getting as much recognition as main hero A, who's face to face at the camera all the time, which is sad. I mean, and same goes true for voice acting. Um, I mean, I feel like, yeah, for like Oscars and various awards like that, there should be more recognition because, in my opinion, voice actors are just as valid as the Keanu Reeves of the world. I mean, granted, he's going to win every award every time because it's Keanu. He is a delight. He's breathtaking. Um,
yes, yes, he is.
but yeah,
Um,
it is nice to see to see that kind of acting slowly becoming more seen, more mainstream. But it still has ways to go.
yeah, still and I'm sure within our lifetimes and very soon we'll start seeing that.
Oh, I hope so.
Uh, yeah, I mean, there's so much that um, these people offer to the field, and especially as things like anime and adult themed cartoons, like Rick. We haven't even really talked about like adult themed cartoons, like Rick and Morty and Robot Chicken and
Urutsuki Doji. Oh, wrong kind of adult
uh,
cartoons. My bad. Um,
yeah, and actually the list of voice actors who have crossed over or crossed back from the H anime genres. Kind of interesting.
That's
As an
something I'm gonna have to.
as
I'm gonna have to look that up
as
actually for
as an
research purposes.
example, Veronica Taylor.
Really?
Yes, from what I have found, she was in at least one H anime title. For those of you who don't know Veronica Taylor, she's famously the voice of Ash Ketchum from the Pokemon cartoon anime.
I'm gonna need to do research after this just for my own giggles.
Research.
Research. I'm gonna need
Yes.
the sauce, Ian. Anyway.
I'll give you your digits later.
There we go.
So yeah, voice acting is a really popular profession these days. I think it's probably still pretty hard to get into. It takes a lot of work to get into it.
Yes,
You've got
yes.
to have, you got to have the equipment. You got to do tapes. You've got to do different voices. Got to do different takes. You probably have to have an agent or a producer to help you with those said tapes. So
Yep.
it's a bit of an investment, especially if you don't live near the main studios, which
Yeah.
really that's in more like Texas area right now or California.
Yep.
But
Well,
still it's still something that I would pursue your passions,
yeah.
as we always say here.
Well, I know, and
So
as far as more like traditional film, I know Georgia is actually growing a lot for that. One of my good friends who I just finished a project that I can't say much about now, but I will be able to soon. He actually just moved to Georgia specifically because of the
college, yeah.
specifically because of just the growing need for actors. Georgia gives like I'm surprised our favorite director, who we can't really mention the name right now of, I'm surprised he hasn't started shooting films in Georgia yet. Um, but Georgia gives like all kinds of like tax breaks and incentives, and it's actually more beneficial right now to film in Georgia than it is to film in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
mean, but yeah, one of my good friends. Shout out to Will if you listen to this episode. Love you, buddy. Really miss you. Um, Moved down there specifically to pursue his acting passion. So I'd be curious to see if we start seeing more voice acting opportunities pop up in Georgia as well, or it may have already happened. I'm not sure. So
I mean, Georgia's where uh, the Adult
Peaches
Swim
are from.
studio is.
Yeah, which
Where
I
Peaches are from.
yes, which
William Street Studio is in Georgia.
I saw William Street. I saw William Street. Did not see a single peach grove. I am disappointed, Georgia. I demand a refund. I take that back. They were on all of their license plates.
Yeah, you kind of have to look out when going through Georgia. You have to look. It's hard to spot them through all of the Chick-fil-A's, Zaxby's, Waffle Houses, and Lions Den
It's true.
adult novelty stores.
It's true. Georgia, you are a beautiful state. You take too long to drive through, though. Just saying, especially if you're going north to south. I made the
Yes.
drive from Indiana down to Orlando a couple years ago, and Georgia took about 8 days of my trip. Just that was just driving straight north to south.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's. I mean, to sum it up, I mean, we obviously have a lot of favorite voice actors, many of which have kind of connected with us on a personal level as far as their performances, getting us in touch with the characters, and it's nice to see it again. I've said this multiple times now, but becoming a more mainstream profession that people are proud to say, I'm a voice actor.
Yeah. Yep. So, again, if you're interested in the field, I would suggest looking into it, checking into what it might take. With Funimation's acquisition of Crunchyroll, there may be a huge demand for more voice actors and actresses out there. As Funimation's most famous for being able to for doing dubs,
Yep.
but now that they have Crunchyroll's licenses, we may see a lot more dubs coming out of them. So,
Here's hoping.
but yeah. Anyway, I think that's probably going to do it for us tonight. I'm sure you're all sick and tired of hearing us talk about actresses. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up for the night. As always, you can catch us on Twitter and Facebook. Twitter at non sequitur nerd, Facebook.com/non sequitur nerds. Those are our most used social media platforms. Also, thank you to Anchor.fm, who hosts our podcasts and feeds us up to 6 or 7, 8, I don't know how many other
Yeah,
podcast
6 or 8.
platforms. Yeah, catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all of the others that I can never remember. So, with that, I think we will go ahead and...
And we should recap. Also, catch us on our Twitch channel, where if you would like to see us do our new episodes live, actually several days earlier than we post it, catch us on twitch.tv/non-sequitur-nerds.
Yes, yes, I forgot about that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's something new. We're trying it out, so...
Trying it out, and always you can catch the video versions of this on YouTube. So just search for us on YouTube. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and adjourn for today and allow you
Adieu,
fine folks.
adieu.
Yes, we bid you adieu.
I
fine
drank my
folks,
last one earlier. Sorry.
You
But
drank a Jew?
but adieu, Ian. Adieu. Good night, everybody.
Well, this got awkward. Bye, guys. For non sequitur nerds, I'm Ian, and
I'm Tim, making
going to
horrible
jail.
jokes.
Good
Good night,
everybody.
Good night.